When we believe that we have a hole, it's because we have done the following. Innately, what we are is whole because God created us like itself and God has nothing missing. So God is nothing more than love. In its wholeness is what we are. We are whole as God is because we are in God. We are part of God. We are that. And our wholeness comes because a loving creator created us that way. So what happens is when we are children and we begin to forget our wholeness, again, because other people get upset with us, we think there's something wrong with us. That means to a child, there's something missing. Something is missing in me. So this is what we do. We believe we have a hole. We lose our wholeness and believe we have a hole that needs to be filled by others. What has just happened is we have left out the W. That W stands for I no longer remember my worth. And then we spend the rest of our life walking around thinking we have a hole inside of us and we're looking for somebody else to complete us. Thank you, Jerry Maguire. Because we have lost our sense of worth, because we no longer remember our wholeness. We think we are broken and somebody needs to fix us. And our parents did a brilliant job of making us think that we needed fixing. They were constantly correcting. No, you can't wear that. No, you can't put your hair like that. No, you can't play that sport. No, you can't go to that school. Go back in there. You didn't clean your room right. You didn't do it right. You didn't do the paper right. You didn't do this way or that way. Then the teachers did it to us. Then the friends did it to us. Then the coaches at the ball game or the gymnastics league, somebody was always correcting us. And inside of that correction, all we heard was there's something wrong with you. And as adults, we could say, oh no, I didn't think that. But I promise you, if you are attached to somebody, you think there's something wrong with you and you need that person for you to be whole and complete and okay. So this is a journey of reclaiming our worth because God created us worthy. How do you reclaim your worth? You have to listen to only the voice that tells you the truth. That is the voice of the Holy Spirit. And the Course guides us to know exactly what the Holy Spirit thinks about us. Beautiful things. There's nothing missing. We are whole. We are complete. We are absolutely created by God, by love, to love. That is our job. So as we continue down this journey of healing, we have to take every single situation as an opportunity to see, am I descending into hell or am I ascending to the truth of who I am? Now, the word ascension is used so much in spiritual circles. What ascension means is I'm lifting my perception. Instead of looking at things from the valley where I can only see what's in front of me, I want to see how God sees things, and God sees things from the mountaintop, from beyond the mountaintop, from above the universe. God sees everything. So the ascension is I am ascending my perspective so that I can move out of a narrow perception and I can expand it to see it as God sees it. And this is why we want to listen to the voice for the Holy Spirit. So when we have the willingness and we make a decision that I'm only going to listen to the voice for love, we are going to be hearing things inside of us that are not what we were familiar with. Has anybody here ever had a thought in your mind and you knew you were right and then all of a sudden you heard this intuition that redirected you? Have you ever heard that voice that you didn't know where it came from, but you knew you had to listen to that voice? Has that voice ever been anything other than gentle? It's so gentle. The voice for the Holy Spirit, the voice for love, the voice that corrects us is so gentle. But we can't hear that voice when we have noise in our head, especially when we're listening to the ego beat us up. If we are in self-loathing, if we are bashing ourselves, oh, dummy, I can't believe I did that again. Oh my gosh, I never get anything right. What is wrong with me? All things that apparently, other people say and it's normal and everybody walks around thinking that. When we are in that state of self-loathing, we have put up a major barrier to correction. Where we are judging another person, putting them down, we have built a barrier, big barrier to correction. And that is because the ego is invested in separation, because it feeds the hole that it makes us think we have by needing others. So the last thing your ego is going to want to do is for you to move down this journey of healing. Now, there's a time that the ego loves the healing. Oh, yes, I'm going to get another treatment. Oh, I'm going to go do another thing. Oh, I'm going to go read another book. Yes, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better becomes the story that our ego tells us to keep us seekers on this journey. The return to our truth is the commitment to say there is nothing wrong with me because I am as God created me. And that requires a level of self-love where you stop seeking for what you are and you get quiet enough to begin to hear the Holy Spirit remind me of what I am. That is probably one of the second most uncomfortable parts of this journey. The first uncomfortable part of this journey is realizing all the self-loathing that's going on, the nastiness, the vileness of the things that we say in our head about ourselves and others. That is very uncomfortable. Because when we begin to hear that is because we're beginning to feel those emotions that were not expressed. Because those vile beliefs about ourselves got picked up when we were little. So not only do we have that painful experience of hearing what is wrong with us, the next painful part is sitting there and actually hearing what is right with us. Because it's been so long since we heard it, that the words, "you're perfect," are painful. And they're painful because we are realizing that we denied ourselves from remembering that all along with all the vile things we were telling ourselves instead. So we have to come to the place where we realize that we're ready to trade the voice of fear for the voice of love. The thought system of the ego for the thought system of the Holy Spirit. And unconditional love looks very different than conditional love. So every relationship that we bump up against something, that irritation is that invitation for us to reclaim our wholeness, just as you did, Joy, facing that fear, moving through that fear, speaking, you in that moment practice self-love. I love myself enough to know that I am worthy to say what's going on. That is a step on the journey until she is so comfortable with who she is that people talking about politics will not even be a trigger. But that trigger of that political conversation was the gift that helps her reclaim her truth so that one day it'll be a non-issue. But it has to be an issue to help her choose with that willingness that she had to make a decision to listen to another voice so that she could feel happy instead of righteous about how wrong they were for what they did and she had to walk away. So it's just such a perfect example. Before we go on to the next part, I want to hear, are there any comments or questions about what I've said? I know I said a lot, and if you don't mind going to the microphone,
Okay.
we'll form the line.
Okay. South side comes on up.
All right, Miss Avon,
All right.
bring it on.
So, I was following you pretty well, and hearing that, and when you were talking about Joy's situation, that you were to not confront is the wrong word, but talk to someone. So I understand this, and I've been working on this because I've really studied The Secret of Letting Go by Guy Finley. I tore the book up and had to write another one and so I've come a long ways in recognizing that every time I feel uncomfortable about what someone else is saying, I know it's me.
Yeah.
And so I don't confront them because it's not them. I know it's me. Mm-hmm. So what's the line that you say to someone? Because I've always thought I just need to recognize what's going on, and then I recognize what's going on, recognize it's whatever thought pattern I have going on. So are we supposed to be talking to someone else? Because my thought is, if I was to tell when I have, that person gets, because they're not thinking like I am, they're now feeling all kinds of different ways because it appears that they've done something to me.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful question. And the answer always needs to come from the Holy Spirit inside of you.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that both are appropriate. Always go inside. The irritation is an invitation for you. But if that's a relationship that you want to cultivate and turn it into a holy relationship, you have to have that conversation. So Joy had to have that conversation so she could continue to go to that group. If this is somebody that you want to go deeper with, having an honest conversation, but there are ways to do it. And as we mature on this journey, Holy Spirit, what would you have me say? It's going to have to be something we got to get used to. Because instead of thinking with your ego, they can't handle it, Holy Spirit may need to say something through you that helps their healing process. And we don't know what anything is for. Remember, we've talked about that lesson. We don't know what anything is for. But when you go to the Holy Spirit, what would you have me say? Something is going to move through you. And when you begin to trust that voice, you will know if it's appropriate to say it, or the Holy Spirit may say, it's time to leave. Don't say anything. So the real answer is to get to the place where you cultivate that relationship with the Holy Spirit. Let that guide you, not me, not what anybody else writes in a book. But both are going to be necessary at different times. But the one that always has to happen is you must go inside, because if you get irritated, it's always about you not owning your invulnerability, but becoming vulnerable with ourselves and another many, many times as part of the healing journey.
Very good. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for that wonderful question.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a couple questions, and the first one is, being new on this journey, is there an surrendering the ego and trying to recognize the spirit within? I know you say the spirit is love and it's soft and it's gentle, but being new, is there ever a time when I surrender to the spirit that I'm unsure and I can be nervous of if I'm doing it right?
Yes, and that's so common, especially early on in the journey. And one of the things that's really important is as we begin to practice self-love, we want to be with anything that comes up and let it be okay. So one of the first things after the awareness that you've got something going on that may be not quite loving is for you to accept that you have anger. Can you love your anger? Can you love you having anger? Because you're not going to be able to listen to the Holy Spirit until you decide to accept whatever is moving. When we're resisting it, we can't listen to the Holy Spirit because our mind is giving us all the reasons why we should not be okay with this anger. We should not be okay with whatever happened. The acceptance is not saying it's okay that this is happening. It's saying I'm okay with it teaching me something. And that acceptance then begins to feel very different in terms of your relationship with whatever's getting activated. And that space of acceptance and what gets activated is sufficient to create a little gap where you can say, Holy Spirit, God, Buddha, Bambi, it doesn't matter what you call it. I mean, seriously, it does not matter what you call it. I need some guidance here. I'm calling for backup. And you just be with what is coming and you will hear guidance. Now, in the beginning, some people can hear the guidance right away. Some people get upset that they don't hear the guidance instantaneously. But the guidance may not be appropriate in that moment. It may be appropriate for you to sit and experience more discomfort before you can actually hear the guidance. And the guidance may come when you see it on a billboard or you see it in a magazine, a week later, or somebody says something and all of a sudden it clicks and the Holy Spirit just spoke to me through that one. So there is a discernment process that you're going to cultivate, especially if you're new on the journey. You're going to go through many, many iterations of how to be still, how to be with what is happening, sometimes you're going to reject it. Forgive yourself for doing that. But you're going to get a feel for it. And what you're going to discover is that's always going to feel peaceful. Even if it's for a nanosecond, and then the ego comes to judge it, ego always speaks first. Holy Spirit is a feeling, ego is a thinking. Yeah.
My next question, I'm feeling kind of sad because of my ignorance to the truth of reality of who I am. And the ass I've made out of myself along the process. But I heard you talk about atonement, and I can see now the importance of me forgiving myself, learning to love myself, and not to hold on to all my past activities.
Yeah. Everybody is going to go through that. There is a natural sadness that is going to arise from what we have done to ourselves. When we reach that place of feeling sad for what I did to myself, all those years that I operated in fear and I didn't have to, when you can hold yourself not guilty for what you did as if it's a bad thing, you are going to begin to develop a playful relationship with your healing. And by playful is that you're going to begin to realize, oh my gosh, I've been powerful all this time. I've had this powerful miracles wand and I've been using it against me. Now I want to use it for me. And that is when you begin to realize that you are powerful beyond measure, which is what we're most afraid of. As Marianne Williamson wrote in her book, A Return to Love, our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure, that we want to hide our light. And she goes on to say, who are we not to shine our light? But we stopped shining our light when somebody got upset with us and we were little. So we descended into hell. We took our miracle wand and created the story of self-protection. So sadness, I spent all these years, I wasted all these years being, angry and separated and fearful, to then, damn, if I had that much power to create that kind of drama, can you imagine what I can do now that I have the same power? And now I'm going to create a romantic comedy. Now you get to create something that you enjoy, but it's the exact same power. So let yourself feel the sadness because it just activates a recognition. Wow. And once you get comfortable with the process of forgiveness, you're now going to use that power to create miracles in your life. It's the same power. Yeah.
Thank you.
Instead of turning it against you, you're using it for you, which is necessary to heal your relationships. And here's where the power is. Choice. Your power to choose which voice you're going to hear. That's the magic wand. Thank you so much.